Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Be Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Kande Laje Gwenje Doga Raga Shoza Monde Chunze Cheje Jabo Gwenje Losan Sedan Jeba Nede Shesu Denje Nanga Sende Bende Chizi Lama Yebe Zonga Talo Debe Sina Shinjo Tenpa Yeje Geja Shuso Sheje Chungwe Jawe Lodru Gezan Nave Genjo Leche Tabe Beje Lame Zebe Tongde Chenbe Zende Yewo Cheye Nazo Medo Tishin Zobe Nangsen Dija Weisha Yidu Chudin Yazo Shina Xingzhuo Jela Chuba Kanshi Tongmen Dune Sama Lingwa Yiso Migi Jiji Xiebaran Zongba Songji Medu Ningni Juban Tabu Soso Ningme Dede Mande Dola Sheye Bangbe Denjo Deye Gombo Jeje Labzen Zeba Daja Samba Tabe Shizi Lama Damba Jena Shugyu Pala Tenzin Dorjee Chida Sambe Geshe Sima Sabje Chuje Chaba Abdo Namda Vise Yingle Xingba Shunju Gula Chado Mi Tame Nangu Sugu Rabda Sidi Mandu Minu Denba Dazo Jini Sabi Yewa Dendan Zhuwa Gwinlo Pangbi Kebara Chizi Lu Denbi Ningbo Rindu Seji Mimi Zewi Deji Jiri Chime Kimbe Wangbo Jambe 提婆摩律种子上位，康健开别作业众高，路上常被小罗，面面在外的见见人，前面前边王婆上边。提婆摩律种子上位，康健开别作罗上常被小罗说我，妹妹在外的见前日，姐妹前边王婆上边，提婆摩律种子上位。康健开别作业中，路上找别小老说我，旁的早别老么人不，他说几乎人变的手，高的前边可能接受，不说头一我都在做。旁的是老马人不，他说宁可让别的人说，他的前边可能觉得的梦我住在做，旁的这位老马人不，他说宁可让别的人说。好的，前边过来去，常住宁边把电把安住，马上就没写了把人，马杰忙个南个我说说让人一些就算因为用了。常在路地上躺，嘎的，巴拉sam，不得也说好，地上躺，嘎的，巴拉sam嘎。不得也说好，得要唱嘎的，巴拉，不得也说好，给的总长家就希望到明天那边见到的，天班主席陪送。的嘞，有所行的你，如今没有多。道理要理解，你的你不的。三年前多没的我也罗个那么大家了。这么一当古罗罗那么的老公的样子有没？所以从那家中工作到你家族，大概去就是你们从那边从那边上街住不能说。
Sanjay Gyaltsen, Shantideva Dharma Gyaltsen,
Age Chujun Jebe Sonan Je Dola Beche Sanje Lomara
Sanjay
Shela Zaje Chonan Lo Janjo Bado Nane Jamdo Age Chujun Jebe Sonan Je Dola Beche Sanje Lomara
Simje tamje dum tojalan me yanda bazo sanje kumar bi chini ke tabash. Teacher de shambe shö senye bi shö kunu shö sen shema se setan sambrikes.
Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of at least contrived bodhicitta motivation, we should participate in this teaching.
Onda de ben şu sumju de da konje. Denjung sanje denjung do samosun se. Kese da je da Xijin do se de. Zuru da denjung do zu Xijin do se. Denjung do de o de is. Tenema hiere.
Just a footnote first. Kisla's teaching is related to the wisdom chapter. Now we're done with the wisdom chapter, so we don't have a root text to go back. But this is like a presentation or discourse on emptiness. And so as Kishala explained already, that the highest praise that one could make to Shakyamuni Buddha is for his teaching on Paritit Samadpat or dependent arising and emptiness. Among Buddha's discourses, perhaps the core of his discourse is the discourse on Prajna Paramita or the wisdom gone beyond. And that's related to Paritit Samadpat or dependent arising. So praising Buddha for that teaching is the highest praise to him.
No de Teta be deju samu chisa da bi Xijin do zo ne. Yung jeju de sun yin la. Teta ke gomba de denju jang mang de shong la. Zu chiba ni jewe jeza. Mabun be denju gomba da bi jenze des. Yung jin do ye liu ngui je tong denju. Denju chi ne se. Lam yung se le be rinpa da. Rinpa da jar de jar ne. Pe dong wo de rinpa te xin. Lu zhe pia ji se ome rin zo chu. Zhe de samu. Lam rang ne be dang jar ne se. Mu de dong yi rinpa. Che sui ni xiong song so. Dene yom ji do gong bang zhe sui la. Mi zhawa ni shi tong yin ji. Ome xing de son xie. Ome be xing de son xie la. Ni ye tong ma de. Kai gong bang zhawa tsamar chu be xing de son xie. Tela u sung ji xing de son xie. Ni sung ye be xer. Teta yin de. Lu zhu xia ji. Jizun sha be yang ji. Me nga le tene. Tene tong ji lu zhu be se be. Do ye jisu zhang ne. Ome sui xie ye. Papa tomi ji. Jizun sha be me nga le tene. Do ye gong zhi jisu. Do ye gong zhi ji jisu zhang ne. Sung zhu ji sui zeba yin bi xer. Teta lo wun de. Yin ji te xin ji. 多的你了的，多的成语，就有时候特别的，怕的我是说些些，下了特别的，对个嘛呀，我是说这玩意儿的，啥吧的，也是这个是我老娘是来的，日本嘛，谁要做完这都，第我的女的对吧？他写去，这些他就。Tenzin Dorjee kendi yanmayı körnağın. Tenzin sonunda Tenzin gidip yerdeki şu kendi kübayın bir. Sen damadı dama yi şeydi. Kaçı şey bu. Kâbın zeydos. O derda. Şimdi sancı şu bu geri ki zor değil na. Zuo di şircin dosya geri düz da diris. Tati goma düğüge ane bedongo da zuo bit goma düğüge Didi Shanghongxie, Muzi Doyi Rima Lushu Gunzio Ris. Oda Jidon Goman Digi de Wamo Yerabadi, Zayo Goman Digi to the Hingda Sui Lu Ni Ris. Oti Isari.
As Geshe explained, the Shakyamuni Buddha taught as many as, would say, 84,000 discourses or forms of Dharma. And so Buddha's teachings have been illustrated by many commentators, but among them, the two great pioneers are Arya Nagarjuna, Pombo in Tibetan, and then Arya Asanga, Papa Thongme, who followed Maitreya's way. And so Buddha taught teachings which explicitly dealt with emptiness as its theme or a subject matter. And in other words, when we look up in the sutras, there are extensive Pranjana Paramita sutras on wisdom gone beyond. There are intermediate versions of Pranjana Paramita Sutra, and then there are condensed versions of Pranjana Paramita Sutras. And this wisdom gone beyond sutras, they explicitly deal with shunyata or emptiness as their theme or the topic, subject matter. Whereas, so in other words, Arya Nagarjuna, following Manjushri, illustrated Buddha's teaching on the wisdom gone beyond. Okay? Whereas Arya Asanga, following Maitreya, presented what we call the concealed stages of the path in the Buddha's discourses. In particular, Abhisamaya Alankara, ornament for clear realizations, Ngondogchen, Tibetan. It presents the paths and the grounds leading to enlightenment. There's a kind of concealed, so to speak, in the Buddha's discourses. We call it Gaden, means hidden meaning, if you will. And Asanga was a pioneer in that regard.
On the Yogi do Gomba de Zilas, Minda Yisho Tony, Oma Be Hinda Sojela, Yeva, the Tomande. Kai Gomba Jeva, Summer Jubi, Hinda Sojini, Sojela, Usunji, Hinda Soji. Ni sun Neva Shir, the Inde. Luto Shaji, Jidu Jayan, Jambe Yanji, Mengara Tene. Tene, Doye Tong, Tene, 때는 동지 로저 미세 도이 주선장네 오메소 셰싱 파파 도미제 지지상 샴발라 샴베 맹알라 때네 군제제 주선장네 심잠베 심잠지 수시원제 셔트들 로군데 인지 특징이도데 예라 때네 너의 정의제주 로르 때문에 때는 파데 무슨 소소 셰싱 샬라 때문에도 공제 공바양 무슨 소소 소리 저제라 사바디 자세 티버시고 럼녀서 레비 림방 세와 도번 세와 이노스 어디 다데 거사 현대 수세 공고버리 소뭐 현대 수세야 니 말이 현대 수세야 돼 고벌로지 로저 메세월데 바데 오메 수세야 되다 파파 돈님 도데 군데 되니 생수 수세야 되마다 야 말이 이 현대 수세들이야 지들 상호도 ሸ 말세 다 퍼진 것도 여러 현대 수세 병하고 세계에서 시다들이 아니 어디 계서 희요다 거지 또 롱도다 지발 현대 수세 그래서 도무니마도 지도자 모두 제가 말했어. 근데 지도자 공 배동원들 때문에도 시작하려서 대지다 너의 고만 되지 시에모도 힘든 수행에 계셔서 말해서 어디를 지었다.
So, as Krishna read from the text and explained, then when we talk about Shingde Shulche in Tibetan, in English translated as pioneers of Buddha's teaching, we are not just talking about commentators of Buddha's teaching. There are many. Okay? And of course, scholars might have a different take on that. But in our own school of thought, our own standpoint, Ranglu, is that we accept only two pioneers of Buddha's teaching. One is Arya Nagarjuna, Gombulutu, who illustrated Buddha's teaching on emptiness, primarily depending upon the sutra requested by a bodhisattva by the name of Lodre Miseba, Inexhaustible Wisdom Bodhisattva. I know I again violated the rule here, shouldn't translate the name. Lodre Miseba, though in Tibetan. Whereas Arya Asanga, following the Dode Khongtel, Unraveling Thought Sutra, right, illustrated what we call the Chittamatrin or mind-only school of thought. Whereas Arya Nagarjuna, following the sutra requested for by a bodhisattva inexhaustible wisdom, pioneered the middle way philosophy of Madhyamyak. Okay? So some scholars say that Maitreya, Chamba, is a pioneer. But in our own school of thought, Maitreya is one of the great commentators, but not regarded as a pioneer. The pioneer is one who followed him, which is Asanga, who illustrated mind-only school of thought, school of thought.
Oh, there, she's a doy control, you know. Gomo Lujo Missile, them those are some years on your Danish. Tizuosin, Shong Ris. Power Tommy will never young right. Kolatama, Gondes, Kolatama, then Songro.
No.
She said, Congo, she said, they were, she just because the Tommy, sing this shoes, she have Kongdu said of the Tibashabu Yari. You know that Timmy and those songs of Ganga, because Shubu Jiri, because it's song in the Ganga, and it had the beginning of the war. Says the Susie to Omo Doya Joe, and the Garza, some of the Kudo, Shirabo, Dodo, Kazi, you know, when Kazi called it here, Ganga be Sanji. Duja Sanji is a Yatia, Radio, what the Shubu Ganga, what did it say? So,
Lotte Missibet do the color parve kungruve.
La,
Lotte Missibet do the color parve.
Mare, Holo, Judu Shang, Qingde Su Shi de Zhang, Kong Se, Chang Dong Ye Zhong, Nam Xia Xin Ya, Kong Shi Se de La, In Lo Zhu Mi Se De, Do Ke Da Shi,
Ale long
O
song.
Dil Shi Yin Su. Hao To Me Ge Do De Gong Zhe Xie Ro, O Di Su.
So as Geshe explained, that Arya Nagarjuna, among many sutras, primarily used or depending upon the sutra requested for by a Bodhisattva, Lord Misaba, Inexhaustible Wisdom Bodhisattva, elucidated the middle way school of thought. And so that also deals with when we come to differentiate between that which is definitive teaching, discourse, Gaden in Tibetan, that which is interpretable or Tangden. Okay? Whereas Arya Asanga, primarily depending upon Dodi Kongtel, Unraveling Thought Sutra, or in other words, Buddha turned 3 wheels of Dharma, right? Depending upon the last wheel of the Dharma discourse, Asanga illustrated the mind-only school or the Chittamatra school of thought. And so that deals with the distinction between that which is definitive, that which is interpretable according to the Chittamatra school of thought. Of course, both of these schools of thought are what we call Mahayana, Paramahayana discourses, right? Greater vehicle discourses. In Buddha's teaching, we find primarily 4 Buddhist schools of thought or tenets, in Sanskrit called Siddhant. Yeah, we have Vaibhashika school of thought, or the realist, or the reductionists, as they're called. Then we have Sautrantikas, the followers of the sutras. Then we have Chittamatra, mind-only school. And then we have Madhyamikans, the middle way school. Vaibhashikas and Sautrantikas are regarded as lower schools of Buddhist thought, whereas Chittamatra and Madhyamika are regarded as the highest schools of thought. But Buddha taught all these different levels of tenets or thoughts just to help, just to guide, fortunate beings on the path to nirvana enlightenment. So that was Buddha's purpose or the intention behind those teachings.
O Di Su. 现在什么时候都我们听的说起就晓得，因为大家其实嘛多的路跟对吧？可是上些个送刚刚长远你是如果了，现在听了刚刚，因为我当这个个呢，可是他50年个的这个程度这样的，要么是长松到这个，要么是你到这个这些上些学会解释些都开始送的长松运动到以上也是。听闻到这提供这个刚刚可是上节送有些刚刚给长一种地方这样的时候的。
Change, definitive and interpretable. These classifications or categories we use subsume all of Buddha's teachings or discourses, right? Whatever Buddha taught, right, it should either be able to be classified as a definitive discourse or teaching, or as an interpretable teaching. Like if you look in Buddha's sutras are regarded as words of Buddha or teaching of Buddha, original. They can be classified into definitive sutras and interpretable sutras, right? So how do we differentiate between them? And of course, Buddha's teaching consists of Mahayana teaching, Bodhisattva's teaching, as well as Theravadan teachings, right? Or we call Shravakas and Paticca Buddha teaching. But even all of those, right, should be able to be differentiated in terms of definitive teaching and interpretable teaching or discourses.
我的 现在上街我说上街，学生的上街学习不干了，学校的听没有多么子的，听不什么的，就送过来的，现在这差不多什么样嘛是吧？现在呢，听没个路的要学什么去，听现在被没我们所教的，现在的爸爸。现在那你都等于个听现在把萝卜说是，你都等于老听完他这什么什么凶了吧？我这是个你听的是这确实我听他，今天你重点你听把什么说的，给啥什么写的，其实听把什么的听没意思的呀，听把什么给他全都差有，除了听把什么嘛就是听没给啥还不多，哦这差。
Historical teacher Shakyamuni Buddha sitting over there behind Geshe, when he was alive in ancient India, all the public teachings or discourses he gave were primarily to do with what we call Theravadic discourses or Sharvakas, right, teachings. He did teach certain discourses which are of greater vehicle or Mahayana, but those were not so much of a public, right, selected audiences or students, if you will. So during Buddha's time, Theravadan teachings were mostly known, right, in India and everywhere else, whereas Mahayana teaching or Bodhisattva teaching is not much known at the time. Yeah. So the popular Buddha's teaching at the time were Theravadan teachings. But then as later, when the Mahayana discourses, started to become less known and decline, then under such circumstances, the two great pioneers appeared, right? Arya Nagarjuna and Arya Asanga. And they elucidated Buddha's teachings, as I said before, following a particular kind of sutra. And they illustrated middle way philosophy, Mahayana philosophy, and Chittamarjan on mind-only school of thought. And then on, Mahayana teaching become popular. And so in Tibet, this is much later time, now Mahayana teaching become much more popular than Theravadan teaching. I think in Tibet, if you ask, okay, teaching is everybody assume it's a Mahayana teaching, right? So it's interesting. During Buddha's time, Theravada teaching was very popular. Mahayana was not much known, and whereas maybe things changed as the Mahayana teaching become more popular. And the case in point is Tibet.
我听现在上些学习高头，听现的什么快要没听没现在就呢，但是听见高中些是，我那种所想的，在那听完什么干嘛的是，我的所以我现在听见高中学了，我就说上些我学习不高的，忙下那么就用上人家想这不刚刚送下的听没学送回去是吧？但是听完什么的。那生活得了，这用啥个吃什么是要么就是，还么问题，但就是我们都是给税钱的，提前他们说吃不起不了那种，因为我你都得为提前的三分之二十个税钱是什么？提前干嘛的事？那主要是等着提出来那到跟保险这，到得解释这，这就我提前搞出去，现在这样了，我的这个你这种的。他们上去学习不考的提前提着，给啥什么面子？我的啥是吧？
the Tibetan country to talk about
那
Tibetan country to talk about
都个把你没忙不了，都得接，都个把就是拿来要了，忙不了是吧？
So as Geshe said before, during Buddha's time, his public teachings were primarily aimed for Theravadic practitioners, and so that kind of teaching discourse is very popular. Although he did give some minor teachings, they were not much known. And so later, when Ara Nagarjuna came on the scene and pioneered or illustrated, Buddha's middle way philosophy, initially he encountered a lot of resistance and he had a lot of critics. Sharvakas, they said, Buddha never taught such discourses. Nagarjuna made it all up by himself, right? And so Arya Nagarjuna, in his works, there are at least particular sections, or maybe across his works, what we call Tenzin Dorjee, establishing Mahayana discourses as authentic Buddha's discourses. Okay. Because there were a lot of resistance from Sharvaka. They said, we never heard Buddha teach that. You just made it up. And so Arya Nagarjuna had to face a lot of resistance and challenges, debates, there. And so later, many other great masters also established Mahayana discourses as authentic Buddhist teachings. Some examples are great Bodhisattva, Mahasattva Shantideva, did that in the Bodhisattva Chart Avatar, a guide to Bodhisattva's way of life. Okay? And then also in the what we called Toke Barba, Blaze of Reasoning, I think by Baba Viveka, that's my footnote, okay, by the way, has certain section, or the Dodekyen ornament for Mahayana Sutra. So there are many others, where certain sections or certain portions are devoted to establish Mahayana discourses as authentic, valid Buddha's discourses.
Tenzin chaban zedo osi. Da dino da dige da xingde sui jige ni lo lo zhou ge ge chu de zhou do de si wo. Da lo lo zhou de. Do man de ne lo xi jia na shuo ba da. Lo zhu jia xiu. Xiu ba jian bei zai ju de song la. Yu mei ye se shuo ta de shuo ni de che. 我们冷算些吧一样，冷性的松性，真心动着就一般的，我心多了说吧，就说讲，对对，这个古人的啥什么中呢？了解的虚吧等，让啥的吧人吧等，毛吧一心中呢，我就晓得。曾教说多得了，苏轼们照说的，大概这把东西都古在这都是上给，可么你吧，写吧那么是明个的，同一年做的，有些弄的切瓦的，什么的做么一个特别好的写的，这都送给写日，那么的你就。就是听技是这个，真正这一边，东亚一点就矛盾在了，前面都容易多，多数绿种绿的，用尽多数绿的长，第我们这电视讲，山东他这个日本这个日做做的，也都用多龙个这吧，多过来都再多。日做啊，现象差不多。出去告诉要，我是没啥也讲，但是早些了，多一点是吧？做到日不出是吧？什么能的的我的，天天的学习动作结我呢，日些什么，让人我送呗，他的主业吧差了，出国。再些呢，我们兄弟们早都不一样，那是家下能知哇，节约吧差了，破的新就完了，做呢，商业讲的领先些些些， Dharma, Davesha in Jevata, Somo, Ti Ding, Ti Dongi Dusipata, Zondo Ni Sashele, Chua Yishin, Tini Shia, Tini Shimunanda, Adam, Sona Ramje Yodo, Lobo Tomeni, what is that? That this year, because the largest Mukas Yamara Gole, Cursa, the Chungun Messes, the Wabu Shaw says there. What is the thing as a show that Gumbolito, the cause of the Hindu into Gombolito said, Carson, and Gombolito said, the Ras Khaza Rangaji Marisi, and they were Chundu, Lozo, them was Shaw didn't see or see. In the Karza, Shugun Messes, the Wabu Shaws, the Larissimo such is no Dishiwada. Larissimo Cosaji, Shugun Messes, the Wabu Shaw. 당화 그밖에 쉬지와 쉬어니데 쉬 이게서 지서 너는 사실 손을 뒤로 어때나 이게 세상인데 저하고 쉬어하시고 어디 가르쳐서 저하고 다시 맨도 삼성도 지는 다 가서 개발지에서 요데 쉬어는 틀을 그밖에 그러와 어디에 이제 돈이 달라 근데 로지히가 지제로 어디에 있어요 어디 그래서 고볼로 쇼도 사진 양인데 로 두개지 조성해야 해서
로 축자다 십자다 다
라,
송주 만나는 거라 잠배 자주네 축자다 샴바도 십자 송거를
라.
산예 냥엘에 되네 로 십자네 페르세가 로
어디에
축자네 페
소까지 잡을 자기다. 너도 가모도 대마 송샤서.
같이 십자는 쓰고
뭘로 로지디.
so what Geshe read from the text and explained is there is like an introduction brief to Arya Nagarjuna. Yeah. And why that matters is, as you may recall, in the context of lumbering discourses on the stage of the path enlightenment, right at the beginning, when we laid out major outlines called Saja in Tibetan, right? That in order to appreciate and respect teaching, we deal with the unique features or the characteristics of the teaching, isn't it? And in order to authenticate the teaching, we deal with the what we call qualifications of the authors, isn't Lamrit, right? And so the same thing is here, right? Why it's important for us to have some idea of Nagarjuna? Is he just any ordinary Joe? Or is it something special, right? That's what we're talking about, right? And of course, there are many versions when perspectives on when Arya Nagarjuna actually appeared in India. Some source might say that 400 years after Buddha passed into parinirvana, right, Arya Nagarjuna showed up. Yeah. But in the chanting the names of Manjushri Namasamgati, right, where it mentioned that it was 600 years after Buddha. So there are many sources, right, giving different time framework when Arya Nagarjuna came on the scene after Buddha passed away into parinirvana. And of course, Arya Nagarjuna, as we said earlier, is pioneer of Madhyamika philosophy, and he authored many treatises or shastras, which are mostly known as the 6 collected works of Arya Nagarjuna, right? And Geshe of course read through the whole thing, and I'm going to wait if he will explain that. I don't want to shoot my mouth before he teaches, right? I wrote down things. I'm not teaching here. I'm just middle person here. So Arya Nagarjuna, in other words, are very highly qualified, the one who had been predicted earlier coming on the scene. So he's not just a regular Joe, right, who did some works, Mahayana contributions there.
어때 다들 로 주자 교세야디 시도에서는 다 택바시부 투모한 줄 계산설이 시 너잡을 종세 카드서는 고물로 세대로 순수니를 송요르스
아멘.
순수니 전에는 냥을 대하여 말아
맞아요.
너 두개 계세요 말아
맞아요.
어디다다 용사 주신들이 다다다 부동산도 뒤집어 다른 나라는 너 두개 쇼고 말이지 어디야로 쇼고 그래서 투모하세요 다 뒤집어서 뒤에도 너 두개 쇼고들이 쇼요 말아 디자인은 어디 쇼고 디서 말아 요즘 그게 투모 많이 해주시는 그거 어디 해야 알아 어디
So as Krishna said, so how long did he live? Again, according to chanting the names of Manjushri Namasamgiti said he lived 600 years. And that is kind of unbelievable for many, right? Who lives this many years, especially in those ancient times. But that could be explained in the context of some unique Mahayana context of discourses. For example, Taranatha, a great historian and master, he said, no, I don't believe that, right? He lived 600 years. He contested that. Then whereas great Indian master Acharya Chandrakirti, in his Dunsel, that is like a commentary called Clear Light, in that he actually said Arya Nagarjuna in that very lifetime attained the Vajradhara state. Which means if he's a Buddha, so forget about 600, right? Buddha never dies. So it's a different perspectives, things like that.
어디 제가 또 제르모 쇼모 고모라세 나들이 숨도 걸사 고모를 좀제 인체들 숨중이야리스 세대 숨중이는 상제로 제가 고모를 좀 세대 숨중만이나 나라메로 세지로지 상제사디 때 계속 쉬우셔 어디가 어디 책정리마도 나발래야 말이라고
And Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa Jerumbuji watching me from behind there. In his Uma Kongpa Rapsel, elucidating the middle way thought, said that Arya Nagarjuna in that very lifetime attained the state of Yugunath, the enlightened state of union. And of course, that's only possible if he followed the highest yoga tantric path, right? So we have to understand like different perspectives to make sense of, if you will, these different perspectives.
어디 이제다 남다시지 뭐보네 고물로 배 걸사 기본 대신 나 우동이야 우제레서 어디 휴대 모여라 이 가지 가다에다 오늘서 정원한 걸 마셔 더다다 고물로 좀 세텔라 가서 수수터니라 가지 로 두개 세워 가다 되니 수수터서네 고번 좋아요 말아 어디 당에도로 되래
So the definitive kind of take on the Arya Nagarjuna is that he did attain the enlightened state of union in that lifetime. Okay? And of course, once you attain that, then we can talk about how long you can live, or like all of those things become sort of irrelevant, right? You're not going to debate over 400 years, 600 years, because Buddha never dies in that sense. But then some other stories, if you hear that, I think somebody asked for the gift of his head. So Arya Nagarjuna cut off his head and gave, right? Well, that means probably he died, right? From a common perspective. So there are all this common perspective point of view, there's uncommon perspective point of view, but the definitive standpoint, as we say, what is the truth of the matter in some sense, then we say that Arya Nagarjuna, right, in some discourse he said he attained the first spiritual ground. Some said he attained the 8th spiritual ground. So all these different versions come up, but the definitive take on that is that he did attain enlightened state in that lifetime.
도시 세야도 싸주죠 도시 도시 세야죠 얘네 조르미 기타다 파베르가 세야 日本啊些拍拍人家写的，是这日本写人家写中早多的，拍拍人家写的，现在东岸人家的这个下葬着我直接是吧？
Yes. Also, Nagarjuna authored many works. The six collected works are actually his works on sutra discourses, right? Then he also did a lot of works on the tantra path and practices. For example, he did a work on the rimga, the five stages of the competition stage, right? His work actually became more like a root text for one of the works of Lama Tsongkhapa, and then he did other tantric works. So Arya Nagarjuna did a lot of tantric commentaries or treatises, as well as sutric, my new English word, treatises.
我都记得这么些的，知道的了，我们都知道他现在就忙不下来的，过当年那三个的大学是的，过在下的没什么都是了，啥人是？
No, so.
那在多大时候看这个是的，长时间的被他聊着氛围呢，那大点修啥人是？
가르치는 다워든 슈사데스.
那
가르치는 다워든 슈사.
长时间的这里啊，
알레롱롱송.
英国是呢，
알레롱롱송.
今天大点今天修啥嘛是？那杨家是是的，理论家来那这个驱动这些呢，老点修都是。
노송.
天天看这些，他天天他批着门都是哪里是？
노송.
我不知道哪里是哪里呢？那老点人要是的他呢，他用这个大这么做些，那说话就用到他是吧？龙巴现在没同学们当下这些个事情，
노송.
我们这个我们做看到这些这个大嘛是呢，当下呢，
노송.
是个这是呀现在看到呀，哪来这了是吧？
노송.
哪来这来的啥啦什么的就点上熊，我头先的呀现在看见，啥啦个的跨龙老多是。 快乐的那个在日本学不的是送的，那快乐的那个就是那看见在的松树你是安着，他看见我在老出家时候是安着，我在他们老什么出么子，东西么子没得送是吧？他们是看老出家时候是他老久的是呢，长大是那松树你为那老出家的是个嘛的，两个人这样嘛是吧？
초마ten 제기 꾸지승 말하게.
라,
지지 초마ten 제 꾸지승 말하게. 사라하제 지지 초마ten 꾸지승 루지 요 말하게.
라.
지지 초마ten 꾸지승 루지 요 말하게.
只是怎么的要么，
알레.
他现在要么的现在看见有些么子这个要么的，
So as Krishna recalls that when Arya Nagarjuna was born, and the sage seers said that this boy only has 7 days life, then that's it. Yeah. And then they asked, of course, parents worry, right? I mean, your child has only 7 days life. That's says, is there anything we can prolong his life? And then the suggestion was that if you make a lot of offerings and to the Brahmins, priest, then I think he will live 7 months. Okay. And then they said, is there anything else beyond 7 months? Can he do something? Then they said, well, if you make a lot of offerings to the Sangha, then he's going to live 7 years. Then if there's anything more, that's it. There's no other way. So longest he can live is 7 years. So when he was almost 7 years, his mother, really, she couldn't bear seeing the death of her own son. So basically, sent him far off to a solitude, right? Kind of sort of like to die, right? Because she dare not see the death of her own child. And then as the father went, I mean, he ended up at Nalanda, Nalanda site, and he met great master Saraha. Yeah? And I think it must be the master Saraha. And then Master Saraha said, if you really let go or give up samsara, I think you're going to live long. Can you do that? Can you, right? And he said, yes, I can do that. And so he said that, the child, he let go all the attachments to the samsara, and he lived very long. And that's why we said, some sources say he lived 600 years. And the others said that in that very lifetime, he attained enlightened state of union. And so all of those are different sides of the story of Arya Nagarjuna.
What did that go to Luju Robson? There's a good things. Carson said, Kadu show you me. In the devil shot of Kazin, Donga that to shot of the Donga Nigal big Karsa. Sujil and Jamsdam was tongue under you had the gold of that of switching with the gold of
No, sir.
this is the way some much of swimming, stop Jim was done such as a swimming. And that was the Sayat or the Gajarida.
So that's like a brief introduction to Arya Nagarjuna. Anyway, he lived really long, and he made great contributions to Mahayana discourses. He authored many authentic treatises, the 6 collected works, which are all sutra discourses, and he also wrote a number of tantric treatises. So in that way, Arya Nagarjuna make incredible contributions both to the sutra and tantra of Mahayana. And due to his kindness, so we are in a much better state right now, right? If Arya Nagarjuna did not work that hard and put all his efforts there, we wouldn't have access to all of these wonderful teachings. And so he kind of, metaphorically speaking, he did his work, and we have been spoon-fed by Arya Nagarjuna in both sutra teachings and tantra teachings.
What is that in Gomolu? The resort Jawat, Jita Jahale, Jawa Geos, as you said,
Sashel Swimba.
La
Sawashir Bichugo.
Jawa. The poor Tarda, the daughter was there with the Lingdesia, Sanjay Jawa, Colosum Jawa, the Zoo series, this way. Ranju Lindesia, Ranju, Sanjay Jawa, the daughter was in Tenjo, this way.
So among the 6 collected works of Arya Nagarjuna, the Sutra discourses, is the Mulya Madhyamika, or the fundamental wisdom treatise, right? Sawasharab in Tibetan, the root wisdom treatise. And it is said that in India, there were 8 prominent commentaries on the fundamental wisdom treatise of Nagarjuna. And so when teachings were brought to Tibet, the 3 most prominent commentaries Tibetans have, received, and we still keep to this day, footnote, are the Baba Viveka's, right, commentary called Buddha Palita, right, the work called Buddha Palita, his own name, right, Sangye Chang. And that actually explained the Prasangika Madhyamika school of thought. Then Chandrakirti, right, did the supplement to the middle way, Madhyamik Avatar, which is also Prasangika Madhyamika school of thought. Baba Viveka, did the commentary, and Baba Viveka, in some sense, we can say, pioneered the Sevatantika Madhyamika school of thought. Middle way school has 2 schools. There's a Rangjupa and Sevatantika Madhyamika school. And so those are the 3 most well-known commentaries on the fundamental wisdom treatise of Nagarjuna in Tibet.
Oh, the Talo Tomene, Toma Dene, Log Gujatan, Shons, Talo Sunja Jedwa, showing Doy Tangi Jivata. Lord Jad and Gaji Shukbar, Gundri Jeshid, Sung Jambezaju, Tangwale, Tension. Sasumba Yinjang, Yin did a shade, Simzamba. Simzamba, 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 Simzamba wa tamba yinba, lobo shushi ji, geshe le shedo. Tena, Simzamba rikin jisu zunga shedo, Simzamba se, zewa zena yang, gomba tadu tenju du neba ni, tingi yin ziba gyulame drebali shendu sewa, lutrop shabji gomba drebala. Kursa. Tenju neba diyini, gyulame drebali shendu sela. Lutrop shabji gomba drebala, zumu kyuba ni, seyi to pakpala yinla. Di oma ba hijaba so, donga ji tensu mangdu zedo. Di lutrop shada drawa, jinran ki tsemaran zebe yapse ni, di la se, shung shemu oma bada. Xena la sho zebe oma wa she, ngama nam ki tayin zedo was. O de da, gobo lutrop karsa de, gobo lutrop loma mangbo ya jidang. Yo jina lobu da lutrop na di, papa la di, shung shemu oma sa de. Tiranga gange tsema shiurda. O de, zeda, shung shemu oma wa sila waris. O de, zeda, papa la da lutrop ni gange chikpa dhuzi warda, gomba jiba. O de ziwarda. Ta da chawa da, saje jagda shore oma wa, tenju warda, raju kaka dhuwa warwa. O de ziwarda.
Arya Nagarjuna, of course, had many great disciples. Among them, the most prominent one, who is regarded as almost equal to the master himself, is Aryadeva, Pakbala, in Tibetan. And he, of course, he wrote a number of works, but the most prominent work of Aryadeva is the Chatukshedam, 400 stanzas on the middle way. Okay? And so Arya Nagarjuna and Aryadeva are regarded as equally authentic, isn't it? And when it comes to illustrating the great treatises, Jungchenpo, whereas other great masters, including Chandrakirti and Baba Viveka, they are, yes, respected highly, but not equal to Arya Nagarjuna or somebody, because they illustrated a particular school of thought, isn't it? Chandrakirti did the Prasangika Madhyamika school, Baba Viveka did the Savatandika Madhyamika school. So they have little lower ranking, if you will, right? So these are the later commentators with little lower rank, probably A, B, right? That's like a thing. Yeah.
What did that Shunshimo da Shora said, Papa Lave is that you go, but here also the Kajama, Omelujik is. So ye just tell you the day in Lindes, Rojo, she didn't show me. Almost, she went over there is. Tino Tumo was there, she thought, in the Jura Gino, Papa Lale and Gobolu, the Jiwata or is the Queen Jiwa. Shunshim was almost Rojibas and the Rojiba Lama. Lama, the 10 years, the 10 years below is. That under there is what that.
Gombulu, the Papa La Shung Ran La Yak and Terran Gay Kabachi, Ume Lam to say,
They just almost get 10 years. Roju gets Papa Le Shung, the business series of Maro.
So Gombulu Tagade de Rogia.
Gombulu, the Sega Marwa. The Sega to Lindesi Roju to.
Oh, the
Sunday, the order of the 10 years to.
Just double checking is always good, right? So the Madhyamikan scholars, as we call middle scholars, whether you are Prasangika Madhyamikans or you are Savatandika Madhyamikans, they have equal respect for Arya Nagarjuna and Arya Deva, right? Because in the works of Arya Nagarjuna and Arya Deva, they have not kind of necessarily or clearly differentiated between Prasangika school of thought and Savatendika Madhyamika school of thought. They said we illustrated Madhyamika school of thought. Yeah? Whereas later, Buddha Palita and Chandakirti, they explain Arya Nagarjuna as a work in terms of Prasangika Madhyamika school of thought. So they went in one direction, isn't it? And whereas Baba Viveka explained Arya Nagarjuna's work in terms of Savatandika Madhyamika direction, another direction. Yeah.
다들 상제장 되지 당보되게 되지天就 让就 这个的 领导些 어디래 다 대제스로 대제제 자세 제와 셔러드원세니 상제장지 제베 다시 제고게 갑소제 제티란 갑소지 태와나 레레네 좀망도 손네 랑지 댄스 그가소제세 태와나 레네 세 좀망도 손 랑지 댄스 그가 주제 마송데 그 주제 토마송데 랑지 제스 토마르 세반제도스 그래서 랑지 히도서지 되대요 링데지 샤고다 그 남조데 랑지다 자예 고바 랑지 토마땡게 링데지 되라 어디
So as we said earlier, the language in Tibetan, Baba Viveka in Sanskrit, so he wrote a commentary on Arya Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom treatise, Mulya Madhyamika, and his commentary is called Sherab Treme, Light of Wisdom. Yeah, and so he explained Nagarjuna's middle way philosophy in terms of Savatandika Madhyamika system. So therefore, Baba Viveka is regarded as the pioneer of Savatandika Madhyamika school of thought. That's sub-school of middle way. So this is where in his work, he established the need for what we call Rangju, which is a complicated concept, but at the moment I'll say it's for the need for like intrinsic existence or intrinsic continuum, if I literally translate it. So therefore, he talked about refuting four extreme standpoints, Thashi, production, for extreme forms of production, and establish the need for intrinsic existence or intrinsic continuum, Rangjiba, translating that term.
What did it? Rangjiba, tell you, Jabado did it was a conject. Sure, you double that some doing it, tell you, yeah. The double that was a Maris, you know, you're saying, the Rangjiba, almost, this way.
The big distinction between Savatandika Madhyamika school propounded by Baba Viveka and Prasangika Madhyamika school propounded by, the Buddha Palita and Chandakirti is this, that Baba Viveka believes that something has to exist objectively from its own side, right? Something has to exist, right? When we think in terms of existence, something has to be there, over there, from its side, okay? Whereas Prasangika Madhyamika says that everything is merely imputed, designated by terms and concept, really nothing exists from its own side. Okay? So that's a big distinction between these two schools of thought called middle way philosophers.
能在这咸阳日不出去吧，东西都是吧，西家吧那去，这把他让刚子咱们我们就把咱这说，咱这说老问题这个是，那些我在监督，超过越多的，我得拿着问题的他，日不出去吧是。我听日本出去变这话，东西都是变这话，西家变这话，就这样的。 다 된대 가면 그런 랑광서 보시는 잠이야 봐. 어머 주발 가서 랑데지 봐. 어디게 너한테 되지 어디게 되게 있어.
No. Great Indian Master Chandrakirti, Davatrakpa in Tibetan, he wrote commentaries on Arya Nagarjuna's 60 reasonings, Ripa Tukuchaba, and Tongyi Tunjaba, 70 stanzas on emptiness, and Arya Deva's 400 stanzas on the middle way, Chatuk Shedak, and also he wrote his own work called Supplement to the Middle Way Root Text and auto commentary on that one. So in all of these things, he established how things have been merely designated or imputed by terms and concept. Nothing exists in and of itself intrinsically.
What did 领带这个启动线那种就是小做的，你启动没有线，他也是什么启动没有，能力上就开了个这也是，这他也的启动没有就，让人开吧说那是就我们朝这说小这都是的，那是就我们随便给的他小做，让就说是个的。领带都是让就是然后的这块的，这让就开始领带这些，那时候是我们让就是所以个的，我们喜欢来开始喜欢做意思我的。
Diba 쪽에 치든 shegi 말했어. 랭게지 치든 shegi 했어.
领带是就新些，
시바도
我这也是
맞네.
的没些个的。
알았어. Baba Viveka, Lengdenche, he, as we said, pioneered, illustrated Nagarjuna's middle way philosophy in terms of intrinsicness, intrinsic continuum, or Savatandika Madhyamika sub-school within middle way school. And he accepts externally existent objects, Chidin, whereas Shantarakshita, Shivaso in Tibetan, he does not accept externally existent objects. And he explained in a middle way philosophy in terms of what called Yogacharya Madhyamika school, right? So Shantarakshita is regarded as pioneer of Yogacharya middle way Madhyamika school.
我的他小时候的那时候我们说这里是的呢，所以那时候这啦，你老么干嘛来的？老么干嘛来去了？谁的？我就破了便宜给他钱去了，我的。干嘛来去了？让就熊吃吧的爸爸是我们那我们真的不是我们告诉我们那空休息了，我的，我们那些。现在工人他不一般，工人他不，怕把工人是把些有了，我的工人些，现在搞的，哎，你要是的你，人家，看见们那了，搞这些的小送锁是，对，小做的干嘛来你是，但看这搞这些可是呢，不要的的。 야, 티가가 벽에 저는 사장 벽에 줘야 돼. 상해 들어가 줘야 돼. 디제 그때 뭐 사장 주세. 아니 견디고 제도야. 어디에 가가 아니 쉬어서 그 송으로 와.
No.
근데 주다 쉬어서 하상 때만 다 어디다 야 너무 까말래시라게 하자 파마 제시데 세데다 그야 상제 때만 다 잡셔야 배 용락 불타고 열어야 되고 어디 대강가 가서는 데려가 너무 쉬어서 까말라지네 가지고 그래도와 어디 대체도 벽에 걸어 조셔야자 근데 버바 인생을 걸어서 로서시나 아니 깨라고 해요 말아 그 벽에 걸어 걸리 뺏어가가 벽에 걸어 열어와 그래서 체주저와 근데 내 탄핵다 두서이나 이노트도 Sanskrit 힘으로 자는 도 소종 도도 sanskrit 도 동어와
Pali Malay.
실제 그 말이
Thailand, sir.
빨리
Pali.
sanskrit 걸
No,
동어다
no, sir.
빨리 돌아와
Not it.
어디까지 되지 거기 이노 현다 노조 뭐지 그 이노 저 먼저 sanskrit 예배 지마라고 저 고바로
Not it, no. uh, Acharya Shanta Rakshita, of course, had many disciples, but his heart-like disciple, the main disciple, is Kamal Shil. Tibetans call Peme Ngangsu. And so Kamal Shil also wrote a number of works. Among them, for example, the most prominent ones are the Bhavana Krama, or stages of meditation. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, right? All beginning, middle, end, right? So stages of meditation by Kamal Shil. He also wrote another work called Umanangwa. It's illumination of the middle way, and Jadamuchi often referred to that as well, you know. And for Tibetans, Acharya Shanta Rakshita and Kamal Shil have been especially very kind, right? Because great Shanta Rakshita, we call Abbot Shanta Rakshita, he really helped establish the Buddhism in Tibet, right? The Samye, the first Tibetan monastery, was established, right, with his help. And he also initiated the monastic ordination, and he strongly advised the Tibetans that you should translate everything into your language. He really pushed for that. So in the Samle Translation Bureau, right, everything was tried to translate into Tibetan. So we are so lucky. So now things are available in Tibetan because of him, right? He was very stubborn, right? Translate into your language. So anything in your language, you find it easy to understand, isn't it? So we don't have to learn Sanskrit, some foreign language there. We just, everything in our language, So thanks to Abbot Shanta Rakshita. And then later, Shanta Rakshita predicted that there will be time that we might face some philosophical issues there, and at that time we should invite his disciple Kamal Shila. So this is where we call about the great Samye debate between Kamal Shil and Hoshang, we call Mahayana. That's the only name. I don't think that's his real name, but so Hoshang lost his debate. The Tibetan king Tenzin Dorjee, my footnote, said, now, please go back to China, right? We are going to follow the Indian Buddhist tradition, not the Chan tradition. You're right. So you lost the debate, and we welcome you to go home. So this is why Abbot Shanta Rakshita and Kamal Shil have been extremely kind to us Tibetans, right? We could now study things in our own language. And Geshe used this example, how that's beneficial. He found that when the monks have their bi-weekly Sangha gathering for their monastic confession, I think in the Thai tradition, they recite the Vinaya text in Pali language. Now, you have studied Pali, then you're understanding. If you never studied Pali, then it means nothing. Like, it's just something is going on. It's as much as for most of Tibetans, if something is said in Sanskrit, you're like, okay, what are you talking about, right? Whereas when everything's taught in your language, you're like, I know what you're talking about. Right? We can understand something at least. So that's why we feel very grateful to Abbot Shanta Rakshita and Kamal Shil.
我这到这老公的以后，播了各种现在小孩写，的各种写了天，好像的老早老远的，的刚刚不给这样的工作的，那小时候那的就这，还想给的到我来就上了，要干嘛来是来改当是吧？现在的我呢，别各种写不写我热的日子，现在各种写人写我日子，我的时候到底开始。你小时候帮了谁多？这这是不是个？他说我们呢，在这我们那学校，为 공신 히라 런주 거시 비시 오만 나와시오레
Kare
그거
korge.
나
Kare korte umana wada sombe.
런주 런주 거시
Ala no 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 no.
我这现在我跟你谁呀车上的好像我这里他刚刚不给上就底下在下马上嘛下张在东西嘛是肯定没有是三十同学或者所有的嘛
No. So Geshe is still reflecting on the kindness of Abbot Rakshita and Kamal Shila in particular, that Abbot Rakshita really very strict on telling Tibetans that you should translate everything into your language, And so because of that, now we have, such a rich collection of, Dharma in our own language. It all started with Rakshita's advice and help at the same time. And Lama Tsongkhapa, particularly when he, dealing with Savatandiga like standpoint, he would often refer to Kamal Shila's illumination of the middle way, Umanawa, as a very important, authentic work.
我这他洗我做我呢，如果怕做的年岁稍微，我们上去把人那样，他顺序的没说成，真的人这些样有多少？我这说他的现在手续是的，多的这话的现在是零点这，那说这话的小做下是吧？所以他怕做的，那说是我们这的，这习作人说是吧？现在过，习作我小不的，现在所有下个门都开始现在，就说这样，这个天就是特么嘛，人家管下什么这些，穷人是吧？就我下嘛，这个下完要嘛的时候。
So you have to excuse me for not remembering the Sanskrit name or the Indian name of this master. You call Papa Gyeltsen, Arya Gyeltsen. So maybe I'll find out later. And because he came before Abbot Rakshita, he is also a follower of sort of Savatantric Madhyamika school. So some might say, why not him, the pioneer, right, of Yogacharyas, Madhyamika? But because somebody came before and did some work, it does not necessarily qualify you to be that, right? And so Shantideva Rakshita is attributed as the pioneer of Yogacharya school of thought, right? Yeah.
我的他容易不落我的个时候，他落我这这他那样，他人都是呢，样子现在系统对吧？都面对吧你嘞，起码的零点些，大概些，第一现场这些活动，和尚，俺们的我们这，起码呢，需要做也是一路数，但我们完了。容易吧？他就说嘛，是启动开两个怎么两年样的是，现在启动开两个到我干不到，我这个日子，经常是我先启动开每个小子经常是我修，我得下个日子。
So sometimes Madhyamikins or middle way scholars or the philosophers are classified in terms of those who accept externally existent objects, chidun, and those who don't, right? They use different classification system. And then in this example, we find Chandrakriti as someone who accepts externally existent objects, whereas Rakshita as one who does not accept externally existent objects.
我的他到觉得这样子些呢，容易把等天就你说你那是我们的，容易把到这些我们容易把那个时候我们容易把你呢，我们零点些一些人不是说的。起码你小子也是爬升的你说是，天就是的爬升一点，天就是说的，如果把我累清楚，上去讲，到这吧也是小的说，天上给如果他弄那样，这种皮顺序的我们说给就这样。 cho zima, cho minzi ke tawa zam zima, so kewa mangdi yodo, tada na cho zam te, jeba xiongxing di xeba shawosi. Ta ome ma lo ju zhu go di da tida xeba isi wari. Tawa zhu di, tawa zhu papa tome da, jidu shangho di, nema xingde su ji di zi. Di na ane tengi wa tawa ju so yolu yodo, ye kanga xe zarwa. O tinte so zawa di, lo ju di o xe za da de tiri karsa. 去的不空中州和这都地形等等，地逻辑的形是吧？是的，去的空这么着原本的地拉空，但地逻辑的原本是么的嘛？但你看这个，我觉得
하고 처음에 그 룩주에 무슨 맵을 그래 되게 믹스 썼다 그래.
逻辑有这他结果有这的，
디날 되게다가 로 튼제 슈를 패스가 제가 다 그러게.
那
로 튼제 슈를 또만 양을 로 튼제 슈를 파고 통에 패스를 그러게.
我不接受，
구제 먼저
不接，
라.
是
다 그러게. So we are dealing with the qualifications of these great pioneers, isn't it? I mean, we talk quite a lot about Arya Nagarjuna, but I heard that Asanga had only one tagline, so to speak, which is like he appeared 900 years after Shakyamuni Buddha passed away. I said, so that's it? Is it? Yeah, I'm sure there's more stories somewhere else, but in this text, that's what it is. So kind of to summarize what we have talked about, right? We said during Buddha's time, Theravadan discourses were publicly taught, very popular. Mahayana was taught sometime, but not many people knew, right? And then after Buddha passed in Parinirvana, hundreds of years later, Arya Nagarjuna came on the scene. Actually, it was predicted. So he pioneered the middle way philosophy. So he had to establish Mahayana teaching as authentic Buddhist teaching because he confronted many resistance and with that. Arya Asanga, following the Unraveling Thought Sutra, pioneered the Chittamatra school of thought, you know. So those are the two sort of big pioneers when we talk about Shingde Suje Ni, right? And then we said that Buddhapalita and Chandrakirti explained Nagarjuna's and Aryadeva's work in terms of what we call Prasangika Madhyamika school of thought, the top notch, right? Geshe didn't say that, there's a footnote. Baba Viveka, explained it in terms of Sevatandika Madhyamika school of thought. Now, the Sevatandika Madhyamika school has sub-schools. There is a Sautrantika Sevatandika Madhyamika, which follows more like Sutra way. And then there is the Yogacharya Sevatandika Madhyamika, represented by Epatishanta Rakshita, right? So things like that. So we look at, these are all great masters, very highly qualified, okay? Yeah.
我这他的逻辑的这提了他好像，看啥，出公司没事，这把不起话噻，这个地条多，可是的，你去的那个大概这看啥看这可是兄弟，说这看啥前面其他些，多么中个些，我底下嘛写上那去的也不是平时口头说我的。
Right. So though it seems like not in this text they use those outlines, but Geshe is importing it from the Lamrim, said, to authenticate the teaching, we talked about the qualifications of the authors, right, or the masters, so to speak. That's why we talk about Arya Nagarjuna and Asanga and so forth. So we will stop there today, and we welcome your questions. First, we will go to online, then we'll come to here.
There's none online, so.
No, okay.
Yeah.
So there's no. Oh. So yeah, over there. Could you bring the mic to Renee?
I missed, what was the prediction story about Arya Nagarjuna?
Oh, what is the prediction? Okay, I'll have to go back to that. And the Gombalutu Karsakureta, Umesuje, the Tembegi again, the Lungten de Rawage.
La.
Tembe Lungten Shayamar, Wagum, or the Lung the Carres, a dick or Soronas, Lungden can just have your wrestle again, that Gombalutu pedi.
Lungde ta karsa te. Kar Jambeta ge de kaje ge da lung se bo chen ma so.
No, sir.
Jambeta ge do ran ye de.
No, sir.
Ngan yang de lo ni ship ta lo ma se.
No, sir.
Yo de me so jo lo su song so de yo re.
No, sir.
Lung do ran yo re.
No, sir. Geshe says, the one text is chanting the names of the Manjushri Namasam Gidi, and there are other sutras too. It doesn't recall the name of the sutra, but where the lines, as Geshe recalled from his memory, right after I pass into Parinirvana, 400 years, right, there will appear, a person, and some say it will be like he will be bhikshu by the name of Naga, right, and so forth, right? So Buddha predicted the coming of Nagarjuna,
Thank you, Geshe, and thank you for your teaching.
La.
Then the go ahead, yeah.
Geshe said at the very beginning that there are two pioneers only, Nagarjuna and Aryadeva, but subsequently we heard about others like Chandrakirti, Bhava Viveka, Shantarakshita. Aren't they also pioneers?
Oh, I see. Are they all?
Or is there a difference between pioneers and charioteers?
Oh, yeah. I think the charioteers is I use as pioneers, the same as
same thing.
Yeah, charioteers. Yeah.
So how many
because
pioneers?
That's a literal translation. Right? Charioteers. Yes.
So how many are they? Again, as he said, two, but then we heard about Chandrakirti, Bhava Viveka, and Shantarakirti.
Then the Shingde Surges Chen To Shabarwage. Delia, then the Gomboluru, then the Papa Tome Chigo machine, Yoma, Shingde Surge and Chen To Yorwage. Susu Yores again. Shingde Surge Chen To Shabadi.
Shingde Surge said, "Oh, Konimoto Yamari." The Sunzi said, "The Junja Kevo Ganga Dochurma."
Sulzi. And that the Benashiwasu,
Shingde Sunzi.
Ale Surge Chagamarwage.
Sunzi Simari.
Ale Sulzin. Ale. Okay, so I have to correct myself a little bit here. So when we use the two charioteers, literally translating, or we call two pioneers, which seems more elegant, understandable English, right? We only talk about Arya Nagarjuna, Arya Asanga. The rest of the way we said, even I use the word pioneer, maybe that's misused for the but Shantirakshita. The Tibetan word is Shulzin, the upholder of the system, literally translating. So they are not called charioteers, they are the upholder of a school of thought.
Like partisans.
Yes, sort of partisan, yes. Right. Yes. Partisan. Yeah. Different school section, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Defenders.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Geshe, for your teachings. So when it comes to the Prasangika Madhyamika school of thoughts, the lineage goes from Nagarjuna, to Kandakirti, correct? Or is there someone in between?
Oh, how did you come down to, right?
Yes.
The lineage kind of.
The lineage to specifically to the Prasangika Madhyamika school.
Okay. That and again, Tinju, Tinju Bergi Tama Cuba Sena Roage. Tinju Cuba Sena Kandesha, Gombo Ludu ne Pande Dawata Walama, learn the Kandesha.
Gombo Ludu ne Papa Lashe. In the Sanjay Janda. I didn't even Linde, that two more Jumora.
The Marigate and the Tinju were on Sasana, Gombo Ludu ne
Sanjay Janda, then Dawata Shiala to the
Madu Sheshua. So if it's tracing the sort of the lineage, didn't Geshe say the lineage, but how the Prasangika Madhyamika school to trace the line is that, of course, Nagarjuna and his main disciple Aryadeva. Then we have Buddha Palita. Then we have Chandrakirti, And then in the line would include Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Shantideva as well, right? So this is the Prasangika Madhyamika line, right? So Arya Nagarjuna, he did not say, I'm teaching Prasangika Madhyamika necessarily, right? He just said, I illustrated the medieval school. And so did his main disciple, Arya Deva, right? So they are regarded as the middle way masters by both Savatandika Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika school. But for the Prasangika, they'll trace it Nagarjuna, Arya Deva, Buddhapalita. There's a work called Buddhapalita, name of the person, name of the work too. And Chandrakirti. And then we will also find Shantideva, right? Yeah.
We actually had some questions online.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the first one is, are Maitreya's texts considered Chitta mantra?
Which text? Maitreya has, actually, I don't think he himself wrote anything, but which one particular?
The person doesn't mention it. Maybe they can, if they're still watching.
Or is that Chitta mantra? Okay, I'll go. Yeah. Now I understand why. Yeah. Say it again. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I was going to get that. Yeah. Then the Tajetone condition again. Jawa Chamba Yoro again. Jawa Chamba gi Zeshbe Shung, the sense of a Shung rebel and Jawa Chambe, Shung Landa Kagla, Koram Minglam Dusa, that the Pena Lamna Roge, Chamju Tenga Yorova, Chamju Tenga Diga de Kangalo, Semza Shung Chigu, what a country race again.
Gangasha was the Mari. So the Julama to the dangerous.
No, son. Julama Chigo, thank you.
Julama, the Mondo Jade. Picture Simpson that came to Ganga, he said.
No, sir.
You lama did the almost 10 year old.
No, sir. And then the Hangma de the Samsama.
Do the gender to Samsamada.
No, then.
Do the Geshe in the Kashi.
Do the
Utanam, she says, so much. Shunison, she sends somebody.
Do the Chanta Chamba Chantakaza. It's Namje Jerwa, Chewing Namjerwa. Oh, also. Not all the 5 works attributed to Maitreya, right? The ones which are considered as mind-only school, Chitta Martin school of thought, are the Dodeken, we call ornament of sutra, Tibetan version Dodeken. And then there is Vita Namche, differentiating between the middle and the extremes, and the Chewing Namje illustrating the sphere of reality, Shunyata. These 3 are considered as mind-only school propounding, whereas Uttara Tantra, footnote, it's not a Tantra, okay, you know that. Uttara Tantra is considered like explained in terms of Prasangika, Madhyamika, and then ornament for clear realization, Abhisamaya Alankara, is not classified because it deals with stages of the path, right? It's not classified as Prasangika or mind-only school. It's not. It's just kind of let it be. Right. Then the Mondo Kenya, Devati so the Loben Singh Sangurwagan, Devati so Shagurwasa, Mondo Kenya. Right. Hari Badra's commentary is here, regardless me. The Nature Chebeg. Yes, Yokachari, yes. Yeah. The Mondo Kenya, Tenjubegi, Deva Yoresa, Tenjubelugi.
Piltingu rotation usually. The same of the time yours to do. You
Yeah, at the moment I don't recall the titles, but I believe there are. Right. Yeah, commentaries. Right. The Change again. 원도 전에 장애 체인도 갈 텐주불로 장애 체인들이 지로와.
제가 뭐야 소소 대주 공동하기 대주 예승이들.
장애 체인들이 지로와. Yes.
And then we had another question online.
Sure.
So this person asks, how did Nagarjuna prove Mahayana teachings were from the Buddha?
Okay, I missed I only heard Nagarjuna, and how did Nagarjuna, what happened?
Oh, sorry. The question is, how did Nagarjuna prove Mahayana teachings were from Buddha?
How?
From the Buddha.
Or did Nagarjuna hear the Mahayana teaching from Buddha?
How did he prove?
How do he prove? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
당게 공부로도기 택전 가도 숨버와게 공부로도기 택전 가도 임바 컨테스트 줍샤 요래사게
저 가져다 디제 가져 고문도 코로나 디제 가져 베지 선데 디제 송송하게 다 리제다
다이나 택전 가도
가네 송으로 고문도 그 티바셔보세야 돼 다시 셔보시오는 엔터데네 티바셔보 요 말슬란 엔티제다 중중세야도 다 되네 또그 봐서 도대진세야 돼 뭐도와
저
어디서
네네 가도단 직송선게 코페션스로하게 택전 가도도 리과 컨테스트 줍어와게
pero da recuerdo dos años da. Tima se puso yo dos da. Tima pero son yo dos da. Yo ya ve chica de tu gas.
알아죠.
Simple dice ni mo dia tabelam ya. Cuando yo ya chica de tu gas. Tima dos de que carro entiende tiene de caí gora. Cuando yo ya chica de tu gas está.
So what Geshe said is that, he doesn't recall particularly at this moment in Arya Nagarjuna's own work, but in other works, as he mentioned earlier, in the Shantideva's text or in the Blazing of Reasoning by Baba Viveka, I believe, my footnote. He didn't say anything, my footnote. Anything goes wrong in my footnote, I'm responsible, translator. So, of course, it's a very extensive topic, right? And nothing that we can easily go in few minutes, but just to give a taste of that, what it is that, the way one can establish that Theravadin discourses sutras as Buddha sutras, right? By the same reasoning, right? The subject matters of the minor sutras are the same. Right, all the things taught in minor sutras are also antidotes to delusions and finding the way to the liberation and enlightenment. Right, so if all the things said in the Theravadin as antidotes to this, and all the things in minor, antidotes. So how come you accept one as Buddha's teaching and not the other as? That's just give a taste of that. Yeah. So the subject matters or the content are the same. I think I remember in a footnote, if the 3 high trainings. Right, are the contents of all the sutras, right? It's a footnote, okay? If anything goes wrong, I'm the one here, translator, yeah. That was shown, okay. So we have, one more question, go ahead. We have some announcements to make.
About the Theravadins Hinayana, thinking that Mahayana Sutras are not the word of the Buddha. Isn't that a case of repudiating the Dharma? Like I remember in Bonka Rinpoche talks about at the very beginning how
abandoning the Dharma, I mean?
I think the term is repudiating the Dharma. When you think, the Lamrim, the one is presented, is prevents us from engaging in the 4 faults. And one of them I remember was saying that this is well spoken and true by the Buddha, but this is not. And this is a case of repudiating the Dharma. I think that's the term they're using. And it's considered a very grave karmic fault, karmic sin. Is that same thing to say that it's not? This is not the word of the Buddha. Is this a very serious? If it's so serious, then they will never become arhats. Sure. Somebody who commits that.
Yes, I understood what you said. I think I've never used repudiating, but I understood what you're saying. Right? I would have used abandoning the Dharma. Right? But serious karma, right? Same, right? Yeah, same. Yeah, I'll check. This is good. That and the Tenzin the Sanjay Gika Mares Shen that and Yende Devi Shuksum Shenarwage. and the charu marves that chobong laying about sago maresrabage. Shibong learning about Savim and Jawadilia, Tarba mother begin your stackers, Genshu Sigo Wage. Shobong lesak marves at Sanjay Kayim, but the Kamareslam.
사요 이제 이제
In a taco, Yan Chubacho and Yanchobo Lesago, what Yan is Zubajo again.
나
And the Chubacho was some good Chobo Lesago, what read the Marichubajo again. In a young bad Koran Kalakoda. Choxing was any Chobo Lesago.
that's 고동사 다 나도 이제
Oh, so. Because Geshe always wants to give this one line, right? I want him to be a little bit capture more variation than just say one thing, and then either we have a good understanding, we misunderstand him completely. So I want him to say a little more. It's very hard for Geshe to say more. First he said yes, but then like Geshe, you have to be a little bit repudiating, right? The abandonment Dharma. I said, I mean, doesn't it depend on many other things? We debate, right? I said, so basically, as I pushed him, he said, it depends on the motivation. If the motivation is, like, say, I mean, you really don't believe in that and you want to repudiate it, right? Then it is. But if you're just debating for the sake of philosophical, right? Then it may not be, right?
Yeah. But they do believe it strongly. They
Yes,
believe
they
it.
do,
So
right.
it is a
Right. The Quran so that touch you the bed, the taking killing him as I'm going to chobong let us out go again. That be touch you story go. Touch the story, the chobong less of any Tarba touch about the Gewanching Maris.
영화도 시계 디지다 거기서 영파자 때도 디지가 도는 거기서 디지가 켈링이라 that's 영화 좀 도구라
Right. Yeah, Geshe says that, yes, I mean, when you really believe in that and you do that, is a serious, right, karmic action, the abandonment of Dharma, sometimes we say. But of course, we don't assume that they're always going to be like that, right? They could be intelligent, they read minor teach, they find reasons, they correct themselves, then it will be different, right? But if still get stuck in that, then yes. So thank you again. I think we might have a number of announcements and I don't know, prayer requests or not. Yeah.
Tungmei chamju shungi minisudoro 직 애니기 초과셔로게 johnny 애니기 초과셔로 먼저 추석기로 애니여로 애니여로 애니기 초과 johnny 여로 johnny 양자 양명알이야 저거 중셔듯이 두부서 가즈키니 때때시 자네 파기 크로스 나운텐 또 donde 테스트 부서는 양자 명알이야 저거 중셔스 공기 저도 통면 내시승다 용약 통면나로나스 더드니 먼저 뒤주 용등에 추석기로 나시가 생아 아저씨와 나시가기 부모디 데스나데서 아니 가즈키니 명간 코로나 명간이야 저거 중도 아니 나시가 부모 있네 내시승다 용약 통면나로나스 나시가 부모 명이야 미라이사 미라이. We have a couple of prayer requests today. Prayer requests for those who are still with us include prayer requests for John Gleason, Annie's husband, our senior student, Annie McCormick's husband, who is now back in the hospital after a short time out. Recently, he was well enough to move around a bit, but is now back in the hospital and experiencing much physical distress and difficulty. So please keep John Gleason in your prayers. And then GSTDL student Nasika's daughter, Marai, has also been experiencing a lot of difficult physical illnesses, and was also recently in the hospital to undergo a significant procedure. So please keep John Gleason and Marai in your prayers and dedications. Along with John and Marai, may all sentient beings be free from all obstacles, hardship, and negative karma. May their wishes and prayers be fulfilled. May they be guided by the blessings of the three jewels, and may they experience everlasting peace and happiness. 아니, 제마 사님한테 남주 숭진 멤버시네. 도저 심베 제나 나이로와 제마 사님한테라. 아니 숭주 남주 나시 숭주 멤버시 And then along with the prayer request today, we have an announcement in regards to next Sunday, September 14th. Instead of our usual normal Sunday morning teaching, Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen will be conferring the Bodhisattva empowerment. The Bodhisattva empowerment is a specific tantric deity practice, and the Bodhisattva deity is known for purifying negative karma, transgressions, mental obscurations, and then bringing about the cleansing of the physical environment and developing wisdom. The practice, many of you already have experience with this practice and have received the empowerment. But as a reminder, the empowerment involves the recitation of mantra, or in this case, the 100-syllable mantra, and then visualization, and then purifying negativities through the 4 opponent powers. Those of you who are interested in attending this session, please keep in mind that as a prerequisite to receiving this empowerment, one must have received a highest yoga tantra initiation. So for those who have not received that yet, we kindly ask that you skip this session. And then any of you who are interested and have received highest yoga tantra, you're welcome to come. And this is only for next Sunday, the following Sunday, and then Sundays onwards after that, we'll be returning to our normal Sunday teachings. So please keep that in mind. The details of which I just mentioned to you are also on our website and already posted on Facebook as well. So just in case you forget, please refer to those online resources about next Sunday. 어디 전혀 없이.
그래서 라면 아무도 없나 그래서 용조지 말았어.
Los ni shu tsang no.
그거 제정은 리거다.
Los.
그래서 라면 어떤데 미치 피지게 다들 라면로 도시에서 되지서.
Los. And so Geshe was just emphasizing and reiterating the need to have received highest yoga tantra in order to participate in next Sunday's empowerment. So please do keep that in mind. Any form of highest yoga tantra empowerment is fine. If it doesn't matter which one you received, as long as you've received one of them, including Kala Chakra initiation, and that will have fulfilled the requirement to receive the empowerment next week. And then because of the exclusive nature of this the specific tantra empowerment or tantric empowerment, we will not be broadcasting the empowerment online via Zoom or Facebook. So please keep that in mind as well. Thank you.
So we will do salutation to healing Buddhas or medicine Buddhas and recite the mantra for the prayer requested, and for others we can think of. Usually there is a one-page kind of, it has one side has Arya Avalokiteshvara, the one side is medicine Buddha, if I remember. 도제 권라 뇽베 좀된데 senza 세베 년주 동에 도소네세 상계 변제 변도 야예 별라 차 Om Namo Bhagavate Bhagaze Guru Bendraya Tavaranzaya Tadagadaya Arahade Samya Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Bekaze Ma Bekaze Begat Sansa Samungadi Soha, Tayata, Om Bekadze, Ma Bekadze, Lanza Samungadi. Da Om Bekadze, Maha Bekadze, Lanza Samungadi. So Han Gewa Diye Nyodo Da Membe Gewo Dobjo Ne Dowa Chejang Mal De Sala Gweba Show. We have this booklet, page 3. Lord Yazhi Yuzhong Bega Den Gesang Pongwei Chudo Minba Tenba Zenla Wangzo Yichu Tangnian Chugun Kyola So De page 5. Ma Wang Dame Guinjian Donga Den Kangri Zhongso Nianda Senze Zamgun Yawa Niwa Yapse Jin Tangson Dinzi Ma Wei Shiba Tenzin Chebe Jingguo Zebe Jin Xie Nigun Changzhou Tendu Longdo Damzhe Bebe Beiyun Jin Lüja Yazu Gundo Shabden 太上广大节节准备，用着有人特别伢个心，龙日得见那个白的，头天看见大步下边上，到那空门这把南大，电当周围偏的中围线，轮着居民起呗。 天上对接定着下边说，其实拉面土地没浪，天上对接定当上面，说中多多几多农把，其他明白两个人着说。Page 9。 让家新给公布这方面做到南天也用这么说说这些老做他们这些大的米线交给我做，后天其他老上协助电帮准备备用这他的对这中国一些。 养着年纪温饱，晓不得说，记得送给强南边面，代表着我说说他吧，难道最近养到狼吧也路上见的别多，晓不得，对着家人农村养百姓，上着南去上进准备，公中写了中中这边，代表俺的全部晓不得。 前边东岸国王保障的，准备的浪是与蒙着，这边等的那些张家做给着新年全部晓得，这边浪到过些热的热，这边常常年早上上班的节日过一些弄，说的新年全。 特上多郎这边点点见面中大觉上面世界，大见这点点的别上，现在新年全部下边说说叫我世界去了，昨天当今送面从南见大家拉上大边的，去到门边。 论说常说生说人不知马界帮那解决这结果年不没不 Kone Gongdo Bewa Sho Dongni Dawa Rinpoche Maje Bana Yeju Dewa Nyamba Meba Yang Dewa Sho Sa Shi Beji Joshi Medo Zha Rira Lingxi Ninde Yenba De Sanje Xingdo Mede Wewa Doge Nanda Xingla Jeba Sho Kari Rabe Gorbe Xingang So Pendan Dewa Mali Zhongwe Jere Sewa Tenzin Dorjee Shabe Siden Bado Denju Yewa Gundo Yangda Lama Dan Deme Chege Bela Longje Je Sada Lamje Yunde Rabzo Nen Doje Sangye. So Tibetans are saying, when it comes to the matter of great importance, repeat it 100 times. I'm just going to repeat a part of what Geshe Phuntsok said in case. So next Sunday, we are not doing the regular teaching. Geshe will be giving Bodhisattva blessing empowerment. And he said one should have received a highest yoga tantric initiation. It could be Kala Chakra, Hiruka, Yamantaga, some others, okay? So it will be in person here because he's doing Bodhisattva according to highest yoga tantric tradition. That's why it requires. Oh, idam guru ranam and there are